What if I told you that there was a warrior in the Bible who could face lions, giants, and the fiercest enemies without fear? His name is rarely mentioned in the same breath as other famous biblical figures, but his story is nothing short of remarkable. This is the incredible tale of Benaiah, the soldier whose courage struck fear into the hearts of his enemies. And behind his legendary reputation lies a surprising secret, one that very few know about. Benaiah is not as well known as King David or Samson, yet he played a crucial role in Israel's history. You might have heard his name in passing, but what many don't know is how he rose to become one of the most feared warriors of his time. His story is filled with jaw-dropping feats of bravery, but it's the reason behind his strength and fearlessness that makes him truly extraordinary. So why was Benaiah so feared? Why did his enemies tremble at the mere mention of his name? And what is the hidden truth that made him so different from other warriors in the Bible? This is the secret that will shock you and leave you wondering how such a story has remained in the shadows for so long. Benaiah wasn't just any soldier. He was one of King David's mightiest men. His name appears among the ranks of the 30 Ba'arboshibunit, an elite group of warriors who served directly under King David. But even among these men, Benaiah stood out. His bravery and skill in combat earned him a special place as the commander of David's bodyguard. Think about it. To be the personal protector of a king like David, you had to be more than just strong. You had to be the best. But strength alone wasn't what made Benaiah feared. He faced odds that would terrify any ordinary man. His greatest feats are recorded in the Bible, but they're often overlooked. One of the most famous involves him going head-to-head with two of Moab's strongest warriors and coming out victorious. But that wasn't even his most impressive act. Perhaps his most unbelievable moment was when he fought a lion in a pit on a snowy day. Yes, you heard that right. Benaiah willingly jumped into a pit with a lion. And not only did he face the beast, but he also killed it. Now, it's one thing to fight a lion, but in a confined space? In the cold? That's something else entirely. This act alone was enough to make him a legend. But Benaiah wasn't finished yet. There's also the story of how Benaiah faced an Egyptian giant. This wasn't just any giant. He was armed with a spear so large it was described as a weaver's beam. Benaiah, however, only had a club, yet he didn't back down. He snatched the spear from the giant's hand and killed him with his own weapon. It's these acts that solidified Benaiah's reputation as one of the most feared warriors in all of Israel. But what really set Benaiah apart wasn't just his physical strength or his bravery in battle. It was something much deeper. You see, Benaiah's courage didn't come from his own abilities. He wasn't just fighting for glory or fame. His strength came from his faith. Benaiah trusted in God to guide him through the impossible. His fearless attitude wasn't because he thought he was invincible, but because he believed that God would protect him no matter what he faced. This is the part of Benaiah's story that is often overlooked. Many hear about his incredible victories, but they miss the reason behind them. Benaiah's secret wasn't just that he was a skilled warrior, it was that he had unwavering faith. This faith gave him the courage to face the most terrifying challenges without hesitation. Whether it was a lion, a giant, or an enemy on the battlefield, Benaiah knew that he wasn't alone in the fight. And that's what makes his story so powerful. Benaiah wasn't just a soldier. He was a man of faith who believed that nothing was impossible with God by his side. This is the secret behind his fearlessness, the hidden truth that allowed him to achieve what others couldn't. And it's a story that, once you hear it, you won't soon forget. So, now that you know who Benaiah really was, the question is, what can we learn from his incredible life? How can his story inspire us today? Keep watching as we uncover the powerful lessons from the life of one of the Bible's greatest, yet often forgotten warriors. Who was this mysterious warrior who fought lions and giants with ease? Benaiah's name may not be the first that comes to mind when you think of legendary soldiers in the Bible, but his story is one that deserves attention. Benaiah was born into a line of warriors. He was the son of Jehoiada, a valiant leader from Kabzeel, a town in Judah. From the beginning, Benaiah was destined for greatness, but it wasn't his lineage that made him famous. It was his courage and his unwavering faith in God. As a young man, Benaiah rose through the ranks to become one of King David's most trusted warriors. He was part of an elite group known as the 30, a select unit of soldiers who were renowned for their strength, skill, and loyalty to the king. The Bible describes the 30 as a band of extraordinary men, but even among them, Benaiah stood out. His courage and loyalty earned him a position few could dream of, commander of King David's personal bodyguard. Imagine the responsibility, protecting the king of Israel, a man after God's own heart, from every threat. It was no small task, but Benaiah was up to the challenge. His skills on the battlefield and his fearless heart made him the perfect man for the job. Despite his accomplishments, Benaiah's story is often overshadowed by other famous figures, such as David and his battle with Goliath or Samson and his great strength. But make no mistake, Benaiah's life holds lessons that are just as powerful. While others are celebrated for their single victories, Benaiah's legend was built on consistency. He didn't just win one battle, he lived a life of courage and faith, proving himself time and again in the most dangerous of circumstances. Whether facing fierce enemies, confronting a lion in a pit, or battling a towering Egyptian warrior, Benaiah's unwavering trust in God made him a force to be reckoned with. His story, though lesser known, is one of relentless bravery, driven not by personal glory but by faith in the God who never failed him. What kind of man earns the reputation of being the most feared soldier in the Bible? Benaiah's rise to legendary status was not by chance, but by acts of bravery that most could only dream of accomplishing. His life was marked by feats so incredible they sound almost too unbelievable, yet the Bible records them as fact. One of Benaiah's earliest and most famous accomplishments was his battle against two of Moab's mightiest warriors. These men were champions, fierce fighters who intimidated their enemies. Yet, when they faced Benaiah, they were no match for his skill and courage. With precision and fearlessness, Benaiah defeated both men in hand-to-hand combat. It wasn't just a victory, it was a statement. From that moment, Benaiah's name began to spread as a warrior who could take on even the toughest enemies without hesitation. But Benaiah's legend doesn't end there. One of the most astonishing moments in his life came when he found himself face-to-face with a lion in a pit on a snowy day. Now, most people would run from a lion, but not Benaiah. Trapped in the pit with this powerful beast, with the snow-making conditions even more treacherous, Benaiah didn't flinch. He fought the lion head-on and killed it. Just think about that for a moment. An ordinary man in the dead of winter, taking on a lion in a confined space and coming out victorious. This act alone was enough to make Benaiah a living legend. Then, there was the time Benaiah faced an Egyptian giant. The Bible describes this warrior as over 7 feet tall, armed with a massive spear. The giant's spear was so large it's said to have been as thick as a weaver's beam. Benaiah, however, had only a club. But instead of being intimidated, he boldly confronted the giant. In a move that demonstrated both his skill and bravery, Benaiah snatched the spear from the giant's hand and used it against him, defeating the giant in battle. It wasn't just strength that won this fight. It was Benaiah's quick thinking and fearless approach that gave him the victory. These feats are not just stories of physical strength. They reveal the heart of a man who was completely fearless. Benaiah wasn't just fighting for himself. He believed that God was with him in every battle. His bravery, combined with his faith, made him one of the most feared warriors in all of Israel. Each victory added to his growing reputation, and soon, no one wanted to face the man who had defeated lions, giants, and the fiercest of warriors. This is how Benaiah became more than just a soldier. He became a legend, and his story, though often overshadowed by others, shows us what true courage looks like in the face of impossible odds. What made Benaiah so fearless? Was it his natural strength or military training? While both certainly played a role, the true secret behind Benaiah's courage lies much deeper. The reason Benaiah could face lions, giants, and elite warriors without a hint of fear was his unshakable faith in God. Benaiah wasn't just a man of physical strength, he was a man of spiritual strength. He knew that every victory he achieved wasn't because of his own abilities, but because of the divine protection he trusted in completely. This faith is what set him apart from others. Benaiah didn't rely on himself. He relied on God's power to give him the courage and strength he needed to face the impossible. In every battle, Benaiah acted with the certainty that God was fighting alongside him. When he jumped into the pit with a lion, he wasn't driven by recklessness, but by a quiet confidence that the God who created the lion could also give him the power to defeat it. When he took on a giant armed with nothing but a club, it wasn't arrogance that guided him, it was the belief that no enemy, no matter how strong, could stand against God's will. This fearless attitude is what made Benaiah so unique. His trust in God wasn't just a part of his life, It was the foundation of his life. Every time he stepped onto the battlefield, he did so with the knowledge that God's hand was upon him. And this is why he could face dangers that would terrify most people. He knew that victory was already his, not because of his own efforts, but because of his faith. Benaiah's fearlessness wasn't about glory or personal gain. It was about serving the God he believed in. His strength came from a place of absolute trust, and that trust allowed him to face any challenge, no matter how dangerous or overwhelming. This is the secret to Benaiah's legendary bravery. A heart fully devoted to God, and the unshakable belief that with God, all things are possible. His life shows us that true courage isn't found in physical strength or skill alone. It's found in faith. And that faith, more than anything, was what made Benaiah a warrior who was feared by his enemies but honored by God. Benaiah wasn't just a fierce warrior. He was also a man of loyalty and honor, playing a key role in the leadership and stability of Israel. His loyalty to King David was unwavering, and his actions went beyond the battlefield, influencing the political landscape of Israel during a crucial time. Throughout David's reign, Benaiah served not only as a trusted bodyguard, but also as a military leader who helped protect the kingdom from its enemies. But Benaiah's greatest contribution to Israel's history came during the transition of power from David to his son, Solomon. This was a delicate moment for the nation, as David's reign was nearing its end, and tensions were rising over who would take the throne. Benaiah's loyalty to David extended to David's chosen successor, Solomon. When Adonijah, another of David's sons, tried to seize the throne for himself, it was Benaiah who stood by Solomon. In fact, Benaiah was one of the key figures who helped secure Solomon's rise to power, ensuring the kingdom remained stable and that God's will for Israel's leadership was fulfilled. As a result of his faithfulness, Benaiah was rewarded with even greater responsibility. Solomon made him the commander of Israel's entire army, a position that cemented his place as one of the most important figures in the kingdom. Benaiah's influence didn't just stop at the battlefield or as a bodyguard. He became a central figure in God's plan for the future of Israel. Benaiah's role in the bigger biblical picture shows that he wasn't just a soldier. He was a man used by God to shape the destiny of Israel's leadership. His loyalty and courage were instrumental in maintaining the stability of the kingdom during a critical time, ensuring that God's plan for Israel, through David and Solomon, was carried out without fail. His story reminds us that even those who operate in the background can have a profound impact on the course of history when their hearts are aligned with God's purpose. Benaiah's life teaches us powerful lessons that go far beyond his incredible feats on the battlefield. His story offers us timeless principles that we can all apply to our own lives, no matter the challenges we face. First, courage in the face of fear. Benaiah didn't shy away from danger. He ran toward it, whether it was a lion in a pit or a giant warrior. He teaches us that true courage isn't the absence of fear, but the ability to act in spite of it. When life throws us difficult situations, we can look to Benaiah as an example of how to stand strong, trusting that we're not alone in the fight. Second, faith in God's plan and protection. Benaiah's fearlessness came from his unshakable trust in God. He didn't rely solely on his strength or skills. He relied on God's guidance. We, too, can face life's obstacles with confidence if we place our faith in God, knowing that He is with us in every battle. Benaiah's story reminds us that when we trust in God's plan, even the impossible becomes possible. Third, humility and loyalty despite great achievements. Even after all his victories, Benaiah remained loyal and humble. He could have sought fame for himself, but instead, he served faithfully under King David and Solomon, honoring the role God had given him. His life shows us that no matter how much we achieve, staying humble and loyal to those we serve is a mark of true greatness. Benaiah's story challenges us to think about how we can live with courage, faith, and humility in our own lives. Whether we're facing personal battles or seeking to serve others, we can draw strength from the example of this legendary warrior, knowing that with God all things are possible. Benaiah's journey from a soldier to a legendary warrior is nothing short of remarkable. His incredible feats on the battlefield, combined with his unwavering loyalty and deep faith, set him apart as one of the most feared figures in the Bible. He showed us that true strength isn't found in weapons or physical prowess, but in the faith we carry in our hearts. As we reflect on Benaiah's life, let's remember that his courage stemmed from his trust in God. It was this faith that allowed him to face lions, giants, and the fiercest of warriors with confidence. Benaiah reminds us that we, too, can find our strength in belief and conviction, no matter what challenges we encounter. Now, I encourage you to think about what gives you courage in your life. Is it your faith, your family, or something else? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Let's continue the conversation about how we can all be inspired by Benaiah's legacy and apply those lessons to our own journeys. Thank you for watching, and remember, true courage comes from within.